Welcome back, everybody. This is session 2 of Hearts of Wulin in the Court of Crimson Blades. This is a 4-session run of Hearts of Wulin using the Courtly Wuxia variant rules that emphasize political backstabbery and cloak and dagger tactics. So we're going to get straight to the game and do a quick round of character and player introductions. I'm going to go in character keep order and start with Six Finger Lament.
Hi, I'm Jason. I use he, him pronouns. I'm playing Six Finger Lament, who also uses he, him pronouns. He's a man in his 20s, probably. He's a court musician, a man of high status in the court. He is loyal to the Wan Dynasty, which is the group of that's headed by General, what is it again? Wan Heng. And he is secretly infatuated with Harmonious Ivory, and he what's my other thing? The lieutenant of the general has been hinting that I should undermine Xin Ling, but I respect him and don't want to do so.
Absolutely. Let's go over to Harmonious Ivory.
Hi, my name's Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and I am playing Harmonious Ivory, who is a servant at court, a servant specifically of Xin Ling, but secretly plotting against Xin Ling, and particularly Xin Ling's grandfather, Stone of the Heavens, as part of a conspiracy led by Father Locust. And the object of some romantic attention from various figures at court, just quietly.
2 out of the other 3 PCs are in love with Harmonious Ivory. It occurred to me that Six Finger Lament, you're the only person who nobody's in love with.
Aww.
I was looking at the relationship map and was all.
Thanks for reminding me of that.
That's very sad. Let's go over to Gentleman Bao-Yin.
Yeah, of course. I'm Josh, he, him pronouns. I am playing Gentleman Bao-Yin, also he, him. Bao-Yin is a wanderer. He goes from town to town, he carouses, and his band of thieves follow close behind. And then they move on to the next place. Bao-Yin robbed the tax collector Chow on the road some nights back. But Six Finger Lament is aware of this and has blackmail on him. And if he were to reveal that, it would be quite bad for me. Also, Bao-Yin is enamored with Harmonious Ivory. But Harmonious Ivory is actually engaged to tax collector Chow. Which is unfortunate for him. Currently, Bao-Yin is paying a visit to, I actually forget who I was visiting. Was I visiting Chow's house?
You were visiting tax collector Chow and going to try to convince him to break off the marriage with Harmonious Ivory.
Yes. So I was visiting tax collector Chow to try and convince him to break off the marriage with Harmonious Ivory, when all of a sudden the doorman was killed in front of me, and now it's all very shocking. So we'll see what happens next.
And last but not least, I'm always going to mispronounce this. Is it Xin Ling? Oh, I think we're missing your audio.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay. So I'm Chase. Any pronouns for me. I play Xin Ling, he, him pronouns. He is from a degraded royal part of the branch of the family and is trying to bring honor back to his family while keeping his brother out of trouble, who idolizes certain troublemakers and who happens to have Xin Ling's eye as well, but also trying to make sure the emperor or the current general who is vying for the throne is not doing anything nefarious.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started by wrapping up the scene that we left in our cliffhanger with Gentleman Bao-Yin. Where we last left you, gentlemen, as you said, the attendant to tax collector Chow has just taken an arrow through the neck. He is fallen against the small house where tax collector Chow resides. There is this smear of blood down the side of the wall as he slumps, and you hear the voice behind you imploring you to stay away from tax collector Chow. You turn to see this robed figure, all in black, face completely covered in some form of cloth. They pull a sword and are on you like just a shot. What do you do? Do you pull your weapon? Do you make a grand escape? What do you want to? Which direction do you want to take this?
Yeah, Bao-Yin is going to pull out his glaive and try to block this swordsman.
Very well. Now, if we want to go ahead and do the duel move, here's how that would work. The basic idea here, and I'm pulling this up here, yeah, it's under basic move. So this would be the duel move. And in this particular case, your scale would be just below that of your opponent. In this particular game, the way that it's determined whether or not you win a duel is you compare your scale to that of your opponents. If you have a higher scale than your opponents, you always win. If your scale is the same, you roll. If your scale is lower, you always lose. However, you still roll either way to determine the degree of the loss. Now, the good news is that anytime you lose a duel, whether it is social or whether it is physical, you get to mark XP. So you have that going for you. But if you do choose to follow through with this duel, this person is just above your scale. So does that work for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
So what we want to do to start off here is describe for us Gentleman Bao-Yin's fighting style and how that plays out, how that looks as this duel begins to kind of get underway. There's this fight happening, and I'd like you to kind of narrate it a little bit.
Yeah, so Bao-Yin rips his glaive out from behind him. He is very fast. Clearly, he has like lightning fast reflexes. Sorry, there's a fly in front of me. And he pulls the glaive up in front of him, and it manages to catch the sword. But Bao-Yin is, more of a showman than a fighter, right? So I think he knows that his actual fighting skill is a little bit outmatched, right? And I am gonna roll to see how I do.
Yes. I'll go ahead and put a link to the dice roller in the chat if anyone doesn't have it.
And that is a 14.
That's a 14. Starting off with boxcars.
Starting off with boxcars. So I get to narrate how I lose.
Yes, and you do not need to mark an element.
Nice. Yeah, so I think that Bao-Yin, he puts up a good fight, right? And he is clearly upset, like he's very emotional as he fights, because he was, disrupted in the middle of his quest for love. But he's just not as skilled, right? And I think he's also not quite as he's not as prepared, he doesn't know who is fighting him. So he doesn't know if he really wants to try to kill this person or not. And in those moments of hesitation, I think that the assailant knocks Bao-Yin's glaive out of his hand, and it flies off and sticks into the wooden wall behind him.
So you are disarmed completely.
So I am disarmed.
I see. I think that the robed assailant points their sword kind of directly at your face, level with your own. And he simply tells you, run. This is your only chance.
Yeah, Bao-Yin is going to flee, having saved his life. So he scrambles away. He like hops over the wall of the gate, so the tax collector's little compound, and he runs basically.
Very well. So, with that being said here, Harmonious Ivory asks, do you take the glaive with you?
Absolutely not. That is a beautiful entanglement. The glaive is still stuck in the wall where Bao-Yin fled.
Got it. And I think we will wrap the scene there, unless there are any moves that anybody would like to make. Harmonious Ivory, your roll move allows you to do a bit of eavesdropping if you choose, but that might not fit with the fiction, since I do remember that you were back at the banquet last we checked.
Yeah, I think that there wasn't really enough of a conversation for me to engage that move, so I'll leave it.
Very well. So let's go over back to the banquet. And I'll start with Six Finger Lament, where we last left you. I believe you were being marched by a set of guards who just darn near arrested you, over to speak with Jade Serpent, the first lieutenant of General Han Wen. I think that they will kind of march you across the room. You are noticing that kind of people are glancing over their shoulder, trying not to impolitely rubberneck, but they are paying close attention to you. And you find your way over to the banquet table where Jade Serpent sits at the head. Jade Serpent, says one of the guards. Six Finger Lament has requested an audience with you. She seems skeptical, looks up at you, stands. Yes?
I'll say the Captain Chu here has told me that you would like me to leave the banquet, but I have not finished my performance. What is happening, Jade Serpent? Or is it? Yeah, Jade Serpent.
Six Finger Lament, she says. We have observed the way that you cast your eyes upon Harmonious Ivory, and we're afraid that you are becoming too, shall we say, embroiled with her. I know she is beautiful. And yet, it is in the best interest of the court that you keep your distance from her. Unless, of course, you would be willing to perform a favor for me.
I think given like I was pretty much had been fluffed off by Harmonious Ivory when we played last, and I'm probably pretty upset still. So I think maybe this conflict, her bringing her up, and the conflict between my desire for her and my desire to please my faction. Maybe I could do I forget what it's called.
Inner conflict?
Inner conflict, yeah.
That sounds good to me. And that reminds me, Josh, go ahead and roll mark XP for losing that duel if you haven't already.
Yep.
And I think I'll go with, let's see, how badly do I want to lose it? I think the wise thing here would be to keep my cool. So maybe I'm gonna go with water, and if I miss, I'll do something not wise.
Very well.
So it's +0. And I got a 6.
Would you like to spend a bond to bump that up to a 7?
No.
Oh boy. So you're going to mark XP twice. That means that I have 2 hard moves in stockpile that I need to get around to using on you, Six Finger Lament.
So I think if you, I guess, go ahead, or like I said, I think I raised my voice too much, and embarrassingly so, and I say, you have no authority to tell me what I do with my heart, I serve our clan, but my heart is my own. You should stay out of my business, Jade Serpent.
I think it's at that point that I imagine this happens right as you get that awkward pause where the whole room becomes weirdly quiet. And so everybody hears this. Jade Serpent, you can see the vein almost popping out of this poor person's temple. They are not happy with their authority being questioned in this manner. What insolence is this? Guards, take him away now. The rest of you, Harmonious Ivory, Xin Ling, you bear witness to this. And if you would, Six Finger Lament, go ahead and mark water.
Yeah.
So I'd like to try and help Six Finger Lament at this moment. I have a move
for that.
called the Banquet. When you protect someone from anger or oppression of those in power, roll. So I, seeing this, want to very humbly approach Jade Serpent and just, quite apologetically try to explain that, Six Finger Lament, he likes to tease me, but it's not anything to be concerned about. I know him to be a dutiful and loyal adherent of the court. Just to praise him as much as possible and to downplay any potential issue and to try and soothe the tempers that way. Do you think that is enough to trigger the move? You're muted.
Whoops. I think that's exactly what the move is designed for, so I'm all for it.
All right, so I am going to roll. Let's see. Well, I don't. Yeah, okay, maybe Earth makes sense. Caution and focus and presence.
That sounds fair.
All right, so 2d6 plus 1. That's a 10.
Excellent.
All right. So let's see. On a 10 plus, on a hit, you succeed and protect them immediately from future repercussions. And on a 10 plus, choose one. Take +1 influence, etc., etc. I'm just going to take +1 influence over Six Finger Lament.
Okay. So influence is just it's basically just a currency that you have. It's not connected to any specific person. So yeah, you have one influence, and Xin Ling, I don't know if you have it marked on your character keeper or not, but I know that you also have. Oh yeah, I see it there. You have one influence as well.
Is influence just used as sort of a floating +1 you can throw in on a roll, or does it have a specific function?
You use influence when you use the Game of Court move. That is in the Other Moves tab. This is something from the Courtly Wuxia variant rules. The influence mechanic doesn't even exist in the base game. But the basic idea is that when you attempt to activate some kind of scheme, political or otherwise, you roll plus the influence that you spend. And that's something that you can do. So that's the basic idea. There might be a couple of other places that you can spend influence, but I think that's the main one. So on a 10 plus, like you said, you get one influence, Harmonious Ivory. And what is your goal here? Are you just trying to get Jade Dragon or Jade Serpent to lay off of Six Finger Lament, or what is the outcome that you're looking for here?
I mean, really, the outcome that Harmonious Ivory is looking for is to carry influence with Six Finger Lament. But yeah, the practical goal that she has in service of that is to get Jade Serpent to lay off Six Finger Lament.
So yeah, maybe I was on the verge of starting to punch people, and seeing you intervene, to help me, raised my spirits enough for me to get my cool, to keep my mouth shut. But I think I would probably, if they're leading me away, I'll go quietly with them, I think, at this point.
Jade Serpent looks at you, Harmonious Ivory, and you, a servant of Xin Ling? What authority do you have here?
I am most sincerely flattered that you recognize me. Of course, as you well know, I am without authority at this court. I am a humble servant.
That you are. In the interest of avoiding further disruption at what is supposed to be a banquet of honor for this General Han Wen, who has further expanded our territory, I will not push this any further, but the two of you would do well to know your places respectively and to keep a low profile.
You are as generous as you are wise, and I will discreetly back away.
Xin Ling, you are again, see all of this. Your servant is being scolded by Lieutenant Jade Serpent. Six Finger Lament it sounds like being led away by guards willingly. What do you do at this point? Last I remember, you were talking with that frog-like man Zhang, the member of the Council of Five, and clearly there's something up with the question of your succession to the throne. But what do you do at this point?
I think I'm going to kind of sweep up next to Harmonious Ivory, and I kind of like smiling at Jade Serpent and just kind of smooth things over a little, because I know she's like all flared up in the situation, and I just gonna go over and like kind of gently take Ivory's arm, Harmonious Ivory's arm, just as kind of like, oh, please excuse us. I hope not to interfere anymore with the banquet. We're just, maybe some of us have a little too much to drink, and she's just trying to assist in cleaning up the matter.
Very well. You're responsible for her. Go on, take her off.
Thank you, excuse us, and I'm going to lightly lead her off to the side, away from the eyes of everyone.
I want to see if I can figure out what's up with Jade Serpent. Like, obviously, she's got something going on here. Can I try and study her to see if I can figure something out?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do a study move and see how that plays out.
All right. Yeah, I think that I will roll with metal for control, calculation, and reflection.
Okay.
That is an 8.
An 8 on study. I think that gets you 1 hold, and you also have a move related to the study move.
Yeah, so my Taste of Cold Steel move lets me ask 1 additional question. And so the extra question for a Taste of Cold Steel that I want to ask is, what trouble is Jade Serpent looking to cause?
It's very apparent to you that Jade Serpent is trying to undermine Xin Ling publicly. They have some interest in basically undermining Xin Ling's authority. Xin Ling is the supposed successor to the throne, and this is a, shall we say, bold move that Jade Serpent is making by speaking in such a manner to Xin Ling. So they have some investment in undermining Xin Ling's authority.
And I think that my other question is, do I think that Jade Serpent would be receptive to information that I could provide that could be useful in undermining Xin Ling?
Of course.
Okay, good to know.
Very well. Harmonious Ivory and Xin Ling, do either of you have any interaction as you are led to the other side of the room, or is this something that happens in silence?
I definitely apologize to Xin Ling. I didn't mean to make a spectacle of myself. Maybe just try and explain that I was a little embarrassed about, maybe Six Finger Lament had gotten worked up because of something that I said.
I think Xin Ling would mostly just kind of nod and be almost stone face at the whole thing, like with a fan kind of covering half of his face, like not really saying much. Like you get the impression that he's kind of upset and now has to recover.
Is there any service that I could provide?
I suppose if you could look into a council member and the general, any kind of rumors that you can foresee with them. I heard that they've been talking about me.
What's the name of the council member?
Yin.
Oh, how is that spelled? I might have misspelled. Or what is it?
Yin.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Perfect. I'll modify that in the NPCs tab.
He said something about the general wanting to impress me with a coming speech. It has me a bit unnerved.
Like a speech that'll be made tonight, or do we know when this speech is happening?
It was insinuated sometime during this banquet.
That doesn't leave me much time, but I'll see what I can do.
Well, if you didn't have much time to be the center of attention, I'm sure you can handle it.
In that case, I want to go back to Bao-Yin. Where do you go? I mean, you basically have the staff part of your glaive, but you've taken off into the night. Where do you go? What do you do at this point? Walk me through what you're up to at this time.
Yeah, I think that Bao-Yin is going to meet up with his men. He needs to regroup, right? So he meets up with his men, and he informs them what happened, and they realize that he doesn't have his glaive, which is not good because he is already in danger of getting a hand cut off for threatening and robbing tax collector Chow. And I think that Bao-Yin is going to send his thieves out to try and retrieve the glaive, which he lost, and also to see if what's still happening at tax collector Chow's house, because his thieves are better suited to sneak in around the place than he is, and also they don't also want to get implicated for robbing the tax collector.
Naturally. So what we're trying to do here is a bit of recon, a bit of retrieval. How does your move work exactly?
So when I send my 8 out to perform a task, I roll. On a 10+, they succeed. No one's the wiser. It's great. On a 7 to 9, they succeed, but they either suffer loss and injuries or reveal my handiwork. And on a miss, they turn against me. So I'm going to say that this is Earth. It's cautious. They're going back to retrieve the evidence.
All right.
So that is a flat 2d6. And that is a 10.
Brilliant.
So they succeed admirably at what you sent them to do, and no one is the wiser.
What is the name, or at least nickname, of your most trusted of your 8 thieves?
That is a wonderful question. And the name of my most trusted, I call him Pale Cricket. He's the leader of the 8.
Got it. Within a matter of minutes, the blade of your glaive is returned to you, but Pale Cricket has a remarkably grim expression on his face. Gentleman Bao-Yin, he says, I have good news and I have bad news. Which would you like to hear first?
Tell me the bad news.
Guards are surrounding tax collector Chow's house, and they seem to be looking for you. They seem to be under the impression that you attempted to assassinate him.
And what is the good news?
We have the glaive.
Oh, that's good news. And Bao-Yin takes it. Sorry.
No, go. They were just going to ask, what would you have us do? What do you think is the next move here?
I need to call in Six Finger Lament. Bao-Yin is in a precarious spot.
That reminds me, one more piece of bad news, Gentleman Bao-Yin.
Yeah, Bao-Yin sighs. He puts his hand in his head. What is it, Cricket?
Six Finger Lament is imprisoned. It has just been taken to Jade Serpent's dungeons.
Oh, Lord.
Does that move of mine have like, plot breaking power to have me suddenly appear despite all of that? If he,
I think
that
so.
bond? Yeah.
If you'd like.
Yeah. So I will spend my bond with Six Finger Lament to
Sweet.
have him fortuitously arrive.
So yeah, you hear that guitar, you hear the twanging of that musical, an impressive musical line, and there I am.
Yeah, we turn, we see Six Finger Lament. All of us are shocked.
I'm probably like half drunk. I probably got like a bottle of wine too with me. In bad place. Gentleman Bao-Yin, funny meeting you here. Would you like a drink?
Why not? And Bao-Yin will buy you around. And Bao-Yin sits with Six Finger Lament. He says, councilman, advisor. I know that we have had our disagreements, but I promise you that whatever happened at tax collector Chow's home, I had nothing to do with it. I am not some rogue who would break into a home in the night. If I had anything to do with it, you would know. You would know immediately.
What about Chow?
Nothing. But just so you know, when later, if anyone asks, I had nothing to do with it.
Mom's word. I think she loves you. She doesn't love me. You take a big gulp.
And Bao-Yin, they're both sort of talking about opposite issues, and he looks confused for a moment, and all of a sudden, he has to hide a smile, and he goes, "Oh, well, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know."
Yes. I mean, you probably have, lovers all over the country. Might you, set aside your love for Harmonious Ivory, perhaps? Give someone else a chance?
Bao-Yin puts a hand on Six Finger Lament's shoulder, and he says, "Oh, for you, friend, I would do anything. Just remember how kind we are to each other." And he claps him again on the shoulder, and he is gonna leave the tavern before their conversation gets any more incriminating.
Okay.
So, Six Finger Lament, how did you evade imprisonment? If we can maybe do a quick flashback to how that went.
Yeah, I think that when the guards were leading me away, there's a bunch of quick shots of me just beating them up, leaving them all, not killing them, but they're all like holding their heads and stumbling around, as I, leave them, assuming they're not really at the same scale as us.
Right. Great. So you essentially just ambush them, like you just kind of.
Yeah, like they were leading me away. We got to a quiet courtyard somewhere, and I just, unleashed fury upon them. And I have this sort of like swirling, dodging, highly agile fighting style that they really end up hitting each other more than I really hit them to wear themselves out.
I see. And so I think we will cut back to Harmonious Ivory and Xin Ling. I think that at this point, General Han Wen is preparing to make this speech that he was going to make. But is there anything that Harmonious Ivory you intended to do in the meantime? I keep thinking you were up to some scheming.
Well, if he's ready for his speech, then my scheming has run out of time, I think.
Well, if there was anything you wanted to do beforehand, I'm okay with that. I just thought that would be the next logical thing to have happen if nothing else was going on.
Well, I think that after Xin Ling told me to try and find out more, I wonder if I would know a servant of the generals that I might be able to ask about it or something like that.
I think that's reasonable. I think you kind of have two options here. You can either go for maybe a personal attendant or perhaps one of the other members of the Council of Five, like for example, Yin, who is at this point about half drunk off of the wine he consumed after the very tense discussion he had with Xin Ling earlier in the evening.
So I think that then what I might do is say to Xin Ling, look, I recognize they're the general's personal attendant. I can speak to him and see what he knows, but after my encounter with Jade Serpent, I don't think it would be wise for me to approach the council directly. You, on the other hand, with your status at court, I mean, you see how drunk Council Member Yin is now. His tongue might be a little looser if you wanted to try and speak to him.
I suppose I can attempt a second conversation with the man, despite me loathing him, so just try and be careful. I don't know exactly what they're planning, and they are the military type.
Thank you. You're very kind, sir. And then, I want to go and try and talk to this personal attendant and see what they know about what's coming.
I see. So this is going to be kind of a new NPC if it's the personal attendant of General Han Wen. So let me come up with a name for them. Let's go with I think Ming sounds good, just M-I-N-G. Okay, and so I think Ming is going to be sort of on the younger side, sort of an older, teenage boy, kind of almost like a squire to a knight is kind of the metaphor that I'm seeing here. He's probably around Han's age, maybe even a little bit younger, but he's a young, impressionable boy who's maybe a little bit out of his element around so many celebrities, at least in the court terms. And I think that he is near General Han Wen, but the general is constantly surrounded by people, and so he's going to be off to the side a little bit.
So, I just want to approach him. I assume that we've talked before. The servants all talk to each other, I guess. And I'm trying to decide how to approach this. I guess, can I start by trying to study him and try and figure out his motivations and stuff like that and what might be effective? So, all right. I will roll then with I think metal again. Reflection.
I think you could justifiably make the study move almost part of the conversation if you wanted.
Oh yeah, okay. So I've rolled I've rolled an 8, so I'm going to get to ask one of those questions as part of the conversation, I guess. So I start out just by asking him, how he's enjoying his service with the general.
Oh, he treats me very well, most respectfully. He is an honorable and just man, and is an excellent leader.
And his progress within the court surely elevates your station as well.
I have been granted a most undeserved honor to serve as his personal attendant, Harmonious Ivory. I am forever indebted to him for being so willing to take me on.
Yeah. And so what I want here from my study move is one of the things I can ask about is a means of manipulation. And that's really what I'm trying to figure out, like how I could get him to say something that he shouldn't about the general.
Got it. What would Ming want? That's a good question. I think that Ming, I'm trying to think here. Well, you can keep a secret, can't you, Harmonious Ivory?
We are servants, aren't we? Of course.
Naturally, and he takes his arm and kind of pulls you around so that everyone's back, your backs are kind of to everybody else. The general has made reference in private to a certain reliquary located in the archives near the dungeons of Jade Serpent. He isn't sure where it is, or I don't know what it might contain, but it seems to be of personal interest to him, and well, it would look great for me if I were to personally present it to him.
Have you taken any steps to acquire this object?
I have no such permissions. That is a very restricted zone within the court. I would be stopped at the front door.
But if someone were to present this to you, you would be in their debt.
Oh, but of course I would. It's one of the most brilliant gifts anyone could possibly give me.
It's very interesting that you say that. Do you know anything of what the general will speak of tonight?
Is this part of your study move, or is this going to be something that you're just kind of asking about in general?
Yeah, I think I've finished my study move. Like I got what I wanted out of that, so now I'm just asking.
I see. Well, I don't know for sure, but I suspect he may be possibly announcing his intent to, well, you'll find out soon enough.
Surely nothing that will affect the interests of my master.
He again begins to blush and sweat, just like that member of the Council of Five, Yin, did. He just looks at you. I'm so sorry.
Well, I don't think you are yet, but perhaps you will be by the evening's end.
I'm sorry, he says, this time as a question.
I must return to my master. Thank you so for your time.
He is, you can tell he's questioning whether he has said too much as you walk away.
Yeah, I want him questioning that.
Now, Xin Ling, I feel like you haven't had as much spotlight time as I would have liked so far. Is there any particular scene or any particular kind of thing you would like to do here?
I think while Harmonious Ivory is talking to the servant, I'm going to go back over to Yin and his whatever drunken state that he's in. He's already stressed to death, so I'm ready to put on some more pressure on him. As I come close, and I just I kind of take my fan and wave it at him almost too dangerously, because it is like a sharp metal fan, but kind of blowing air on him. And I'm just gonna be like, oh, it seems like you're having a party all by yourself here in this corner.
And a good party it is, he says, swaggering about drunkenly. Um, and you must be doing well yourself, your Royal Highness, your
I
Majesty, your Eminence.
thank
He
you.
says,
Thank you.
kind of harumping to himself.
It is quite a lot of titles, isn't it? I suppose not in the same mindset as you. You seemed a bit stressed earlier. My concern was raising a little bit.
Oh, nothing to be concerned about. Not that. No. There's so little
Like,
that.
not think that can backfire, of course, right? If the wrong things were to be made public in the middle of a speech.
I can't imagine any such interruptions occurring in the course of General Han Wen's speech. Why, as a matter of fact, he should be starting any minute now.
You said you knew of some words that he was going to speak. Could you share those with me ahead of time? I would like to show a good face during it.
Oh, well, I hate to be the one to inform you of this, Xin Ling, but I'm afraid your days in the throne's not going to be yours any longer.
And what proclaims does he have to cement that kind of seat?
Why? Us? He says, kind of motioning to himself and gesturing broadly at the other members of the Council of Five. His military victories, his honors, his merits, all manner of things. I am curious, do you think that this would elicit any kind of inner conflict?
I think what I'm trying to do is pressure him to, because he's got information about the general's boons. I'm sure he knows about the general's not so great stuff, and just trying to pressure him to tell me those things or to say it out loud to the court to kind of ruin his speech.
I see. Let me see here. I think you could justifiably make kind of one of two plays here. You could do hearts and minds here, but I also think that you could justifiably say that you're using the game of court move here.
I also have an ability called Blade Heart, which can have somebody who's like under the villain to aid me right now and face. One of the things is to face their master.
That is also a move that I think is relevant here. So whatever you want to roll here, I think that you've got a few different moves you can select from.
I think it's between the game of court and Blade Heart. Mostly because I don't know exact, because he knows the other council members are in it too, so it can bring them all down. And I want to hit as many people as possible. So I think I'm going to try to do the game of court.
Very well. So in that case, you're rolling with influence spent. Now you only have one influence, but the good news is that because of your playbook, you get double the value. Yeah. So you would be rolling with a +2 if you spent one influence here.
Yes. So I would have a +2. Move. Whoops. I put a bunch of zeros in one of the boxes. So that would be a 2d6 +2, right?
+2.
D6. Roll. A 10.
Ooh, you gain 2 hold, and there's a list on the other moves tab as to what you want to do with it.
I am... Oh my gosh, there's so many options.
Yeah.
I'm going to, because I'm wanting the council to pretty much slow down the general's take to the throne, allow myself more opportunities. So I say slow and divert their plot here at this banquet.
Okay. So that's one option. And what's the second hold?
and gain a reputation over him.
Okay. And what would that reputation be?
Someone who listens to the people as more of the internal and not just in combat.
Got it. So you're there for the common man. You're not just a military leader.
Right. I'm not just a conqueror. I'm not just wielding a weapon and swinging it around to be strong, whatever. I'm here for the common people and for their interests.
Got it. And so how do you make that play in the story to where you are, kind of planting this seed so that your reputation grows in this direction and so that the plot to take the throne is slowed in some sense?
I think I've already made one such move when I moved to Harmonious Ivory's side to defend her against Jade Serpent. And that was like in front of everybody. And then now I'm trying to smooth things over, like talking to a drunk councilman, and then that's going to lead up to kind of showing the aggressiveness of the military people.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I think that works. And so I think what I want to do here is kind of hard frame the way the scene sort of closes out here. I envision a scene, and do contradict me, Harmonious Ivory or Xin Ling, if there's something that you'd like to do instead here. But the way I see it is that the fireworks ceremony is about to begin as General Han Wen begins to take center stage so that he might make this grand speech and this great announcement. He begins to speak, and he builds up this very flowery language, kind of diatribe, and well, maybe not diatribe, but he speaks very elegantly about his military victories and how this is going to be a great boon for the empire. And as he says that, he leads into a great announcement that he's planning on making. And as he's about to open his mouth to say the words that Harmonious Ivory you're already somewhat aware of, Xin Ling you're definitely aware of, it is at that point that one of Jade Serpent's guards, with a black eye, helmet knocked off his head, spear broken in half over his own head, stumbles through the front gates and calls out, but completely undermining the grand, all the momentum that he's built up. It just goes to a screeching halt as he says, he's escaped! Six Finger Lament, he's gone! And he collapses unconscious onto the floor of the court. And I think we will take our first break there. Shall we take 10 and come back at 38? Okay, see everybody shortly. Okay, so I want to start back off with Six Finger Lament for the opening of the next scene. We were just talking, is there anything that you'd like to do to frame the scene, Six Finger Lament?
Yeah, I think like after Bao-Yin, left me to my cups, I played a couple sad songs and kind of laughed, and maybe there's a montage of me walking through the I think we described it last time. There's like the palace, and then there's all the grounds and houses and stuff around it, like the suburbs or whatever. And so I'm wandering through these quiet, am I right in thinking it's the middle of the night now at this point? Okay. And so I'm wandering through this the suburbs, sobering up, singing some sad songs, and maybe I'm sobering up and kind of like cooling down. Maybe I can unmark one of my entanglement, or not entanglements, one of my elements. I was thinking maybe I get my wisdom back.
Sure.
Does that work for you, David?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. And then I see sort of like in the near distance, I see tax collector Chow's house. And I remember Bao-Yin saying something about tax collector Chow. So I think, So then I'm going to try to like sneak there. I have a move that allows me to try to get access to protected areas in the palace. If I need it, I can roll that, so that's kind of where I was going.
I think that is reasonable. Let's go ahead and have you roll that move, and we will see how it plays out.
All right, this is my roll move. Let's see. You've learned to navigate the palace well. When you try to gain access to a protected person, location, or item, roll. Let's see. I think this is This is going to be wood. Patience, growth, and curiosity. I'm curious about this. What was that all about? What was Bao-Yin saying? So I'll roll with a +2. $13.
All right.
So let's see, what's that do for me? On a hit, no, wrong one. On a 10+, you do so quietly, impressively, and without fuss. So what I'm trying to do, to kind of goalpost where I'm going with this, I'm trying to get into the house and maybe do a study or something to find out more about this mysterious figure that defeated Bao-Yin, to maybe create a bridge to us learning more about this person, so then we can raise our scale and for down the road. So yeah, maybe I know the person who used to live in this house, and they had like a secret entrance through the sewers. So I see me going down through these sewers and coming up into the kitchen of the place, maybe.
Yeah, there's kind of a sort of a central area where food is cooked and vegetables are stored, that kind of thing. That sounds reasonable.
And I guess, like I said, then I guess looking around to find out what was Bao-Yin talking about, what's going on with tax collector Chow.
Sure. Let's go ahead and have a study move.
Okay.
Go off here and see what you're able to discern.
I think I'll stick with wood on this too.
All right.
That's a 12.
Oh boy, so that means you get, I believe, 2 hold
questions. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the first one, like I was saying, something that gives me, whether it's observing this figure or something that they've left, or you tell me, but something that gives me some sort of clue that will help us find a way to raise our scale relative to this figure. I think that would be my first thing. Is that within the bounds of this move?
Absolutely. Harmonious Ivory, what is your clan seal?
I don't know. Like, what is there examples that I could look at or something like that?
Oh, no, that's not a mechanical thing. I was just like, what is some marker of your clan, or of something that may even be personally related to you, something like that?
I think that there's like a distinctive pattern that was woven into the like the walls of the tents that my community used to live out of.
So the answer to the first question, then, Six Finger Lament, is you see tax collector Chow actually in this house, and he is holding this strip of fabric, very, very thin, and you don't personally recognize kind of what it ties back to, unless you make that maybe the second question, or something like that. But basically, he seems to be analyzing this thing, and he's holding it curiously. He's muttering to himself, he's sort of doing this outward monologue, and you are able to ascertain that this is something that was left over from the fight between Bao-Yin and this figure, this piece of cloth that goes back to Harmonious Ivory. And actually, I think I'll just give you that piece of information. He'll make the connection. He'll say, well, wait a minute. I've seen something like this with Harmonious Ivory, but that's odd. I'll have to talk to her. And he seems worried about it.
Okay.
So that's the first hold that you get to spend there, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Bao-Yin said anything to me, but I remember the Invincible 8 said something about that he was going to be blamed for the murder. But was that of Chow, or was that of the attendant? I wouldn't know any of this anyway, so I'm just trying to get it straight in my head. Do I see any evidence of like a struggle or a fight or anything here?
Well, within the house, probably not so much. Do you mean outside where the fight actually took place?
No, like I said, I snuck in. So inside everything looks fine. It's just Chow's looking at this piece of cloth.
Yeah, the fight didn't make its way inside the house, but if you are looking for something that you could justifiably use to gain scale, I could say that you spend a hold to observe the outside of the house, and you're able to see the footsteps of the person who fought Bao-Yin, and you're able to ascertain from the footsteps, because you're very good at swordplay, you're able to ascertain kind of the stance that they had, the steps they were making, the length of the steps, and you get a sense as to their fighting style simply by analyzing their footsteps on the ground.
Okay.
So you could do that if you wanted.
I think that's probably both my hold then. So the one is gives me some clues as to their fighting style, and the second is that there's some link to Harmonious Ivory, right?
I think that sounds reasonable. Yeah. And so at this point, you're there with tax collector Chow kind of muttering to himself in an anxious panic. What do you do at that point?
I see myself. I'm probably still hidden, right? He hasn't seen me. I think I just sneak back out the way I came.
Very well, very well. And I think as you do that, you kind of hear in the far distance the sound of a rousing, an assembly of a militia. There are armed forces gathering off in the distance, and I think at that point we kind of cut back to Harmonious Ivory and Xin Ling. We'll just have a brief shot of the court erupting into this mess, this cacophony of wait, huh? What? And everyone's talking over each other at once. General Han is trying to restore order and is utterly unable to do so. There are calls that Bao-Yin assassinated or tried to assassinate tax collector Chow. He's on the run. There are calls that Six Finger Lament is working with him. I saw him talking to Bao-Yin. So yells a witness. And essentially there's this almost mob beginning to form as word spreads throughout the court that these two are perhaps in cahoots together, but otherwise each one is on the run from the law at this time. I do want to come to Harmonious Ivory and Xin Ling, but Bao-Yin, it's been a minute since you had some spotlight. What are you up to at this point?
Yeah, Bao-Yin. Bao-Yin is going to be well, I'm going to name Six Finger Lament, and I'm going to use my Gallivant move, I think, because right now, when I might suffer social, legal, or financial consequences, I can name someone else, and I can roll, and on a hit, they suffer instead. And on a 7 to 9, they know it was me who blamed him, and on a miss, I'm not doing great. So right now, I'm going to try to foist all of this on Six Finger Lament.
You've been framed and you're going to try to divert it.
Yes, Six Finger Lament, he's just broken out of custody. He's been seen with suspicious characters. He's wandering around this crime scene. He's in a very suspicious mood. So I think that this is water, awareness, wisdom, flexibility. I'm going with the flow. Bao-Yin is adapting to the situation. He knows that he is under suspicion, and the only way to get out of this is to throw someone else under suspicion.
All right, let's see how it goes.
That is a 9.
Would you like to spend a bond to kick that to a 10?
I think that I'll let Six Finger Lament know that it was me what did it. So they know it was me. I think that Six Finger Lament is well aware of the suspicious conversation they had with Bao-Yin in the bar before they went. So he kind of, even if he doesn't know 100% that it was Bao-Yin, I think that his suspicions kind of all point towards Bao-Yin with a big neon light. Bao-Yin is spreading rumors in the bar, all around town about Six Finger Lament. He's sort of turning public opinion a little bit, and then he's laying low. while hopefully this whole situation will wash over him.
I think we see a scene of a kind of one mob emerging from the vicinity of the royal court. They're on the lookout for Bao-Yin and Six Finger Lament. And then you see another mob emerging from the vicinity of the bar and that kind of district of town. They meet. There is this heated argument and discussion, and eventually one mob is won over to the side of the other one. And now the vitriol towards Six Finger Lament is doubled. But with that comes the understanding that, well, I heard it from Bao-Yin himself. He had a perfect alibi, and everyone is quite convinced that Bao-Yin has successfully defended himself. Six Finger Lament. If and when you hear this, it'll become quite clear to you that Bao-Yin is the one who is responsible for this. Bao-Yin, anything else that's going on at this point? That was a brilliant move, but I feel like it only took about 2 minutes, so I'm welcome to have you keep going if there's more that you would like to do.
No, of course. I think that right now, I think that Bao-Yin, I think he's trying to find the robed assailant. Also, he has his ear to the ground, taking advantage of this distraction to try and learn anything he can about the robed assailant who attacked him and the tax collector's guard. Get to the bottom of this whole mystery.
Absolutely. So I think that might be a study move to see if you're able to track this person down. I think that's the most appropriate one to go with.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I'll say this is also probably water.
Okay.
Awareness and wisdom. Bao-Yin is sort of going around taking advantage, obviously, of the distraction that he has just caused and the mob that he has just sort of incited, because now the district is cleared out and he can get a good look at all, without people in his way.
Sure.
And that is a 5, so I do not do well.
Go ahead and mark water.
Okay.
And I think what will happen is, if this isn't, I don't think it's too hard of a move. Perhaps instead of bumping into the robed figure, you kind of follow the footsteps and what have you, and accidentally find yourself bumping directly into Six Finger Lament. Does that sound good to you, Six Finger Lament? Okay. So, Bao-Yin, I'll at least let you frame the scene. Where does this meeting take place? Is this off in an alleyway with the warm summer air outside? Is it in some unoccupied dwelling? Is it in the bar after it's emptied out and everyone has gone off on the witch hunt? Where is this meeting going to take place?
Yeah, I think that we are in. Yeah, we're in sort of a quiet side street. That Bao-Yin is inspecting for any evidence, see if anyone came through, see if you can find any trace of the robed assailant. And you can hear the mob sort of somewhere in the distance. And all of a sudden he comes, face to face. I assume that Six Finger Lament is probably fleeing from the mob, but Jason, if you have a suggestion for how Six Finger Lament gets into this alley, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I think we'll assume that I've heard that Bao-Yin has thrown me under the bus, and maybe I come fluttering down from a stone wall, before you, and I say, and I was going to try to tell the general what I found, that you didn't kill this attendant, but now I hear on the wind that it was that I was the one that did it. Explain yourself, Bao-Yin.
Yeah, Bao-Yin, he puts his hands up. He says, "Oh, Six Finger Lament, please forgive me, please. You know that I am not respected in this town. You know that if they caught me, they would tear me to pieces. You are a lord. You are a noble. You have standing, but you can defend yourself here. I can't."
I think you need to come with me and surrender yourself to the general, to his justice. It's your only chance. I'll tell you what, if you go with me, I will stand with you and I will tell the general that there is someone else involved. I think I have some ideas who it might be.
If you will tell the truth, then I will go with you.
Okay. I don't know if there's any moves there, or that's just how that goes.
That's fine. If you folks want to come to that conclusion mutually, that's totally fine. I think that you could have justified an inner conflict there, but I think that looks good to me.
Well, I'd like to, if it's all right, use my role move to have secretly, to see if I've secretly listened to that conversation. So after a private conversation between a PC and another character, explain how you're in a place to overhear it. So I think, I went out on hearing all this, talk about Six Finger Lament and Bao-Yin, realizing that this is all tied up with some of my own machinations. I set out to try and find one or both of them, and have just sort of deposited myself right around the corner where I can listen while they talk. And roll. Let's see. Yeah, I think caution, focus, and presence. I'm trying to hide from them. I'm trying to stay quiet and concealed. That's an 11. So on an 11, sorry, just jumping back a tab. On a 10 plus, you hear everything and manage to escape without detection. But I think actually I would like to let them know that I'm there once their conversation wraps up, if that's all right. So I think that I'll emerge in the alleyway in front of them after hearing that they plan to turn themselves into the general and say, I'm so glad that I found you both. Just thinking about what my scheme actually is now. I did not mean to eavesdrop, but I couldn't help but overhear what you both said. I am so relieved to hear that neither of you were involved in the attack on my betrothed. And I think that you are wise to throw yourself on the mercy of the general, who is famed for his kindness and generosity, his willingness to forgive trespassers against the court. The only thing that I might suggest is perhaps you could take the general some sort of token that would make him more favorably disposed towards you. I would hate to see either of you, suffer his anger or rage. I know, for example, there is a reliquary kept in the archives near Jade Serpent's dungeons, and I understand that the general would be exceedingly grateful to anyone who could present him with this item.
So I think inside Six Finger Lament, having heard the clue, or knowing that somehow Harmonious Ivory was involved in this killing, based on what Chow was looking at, I think I don't know whether I should, how I should react towards her. So maybe I have some inner conflict. How does that sound, David?
That sounds fair to me. So you can mark XP for rolling and
All right.
see what that looks like.
Okay.
I think I'd also like to roll Hearts and Minds to see whether I convince them to do this.
If you are using the Hearts and Minds move on another PC, you don't actually roll. You simply, well, no, I apologize. You do roll, but it works a little bit differently if you get a hit.
Yeah.
My mistake. I misspoke.
Do you want to do that first and then me do my inner conflict, or What do you think?
I'm happy for you to go ahead and roll your inner conflict.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see where my mind is, reacting, and then see how that goes. I think my read on it too is like if someone's like opposed to you, does Heart and Minds work on them, or is it are they sort of?
Well,
Yeah, they've got to be susceptible to my words.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if I get a 6- on this, maybe I'm not very susceptible, or maybe it's the opposite. I'm not sure yet. Let's just see. Let's see how my roll goes, and we'll figure it out. All right, so I think this is my passion is involved here. I'm gonna use my my style element. Go to the +2. See what happens. 10. So
balls in your court. Yeah, you just managed to maintain your composure.
Okay. So yeah, I think I keep my passion in check, and I keep my mouth shut, and I say, I think we all three of us should go talk to the general before we start, resolve the situation at hand, and have the the bands of people wandering the street stand down.
Harmonious Ivory, is that acceptable to you, or would you like to try Hearts and Minds to enforce what you would prefer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just going to be like, I am, I'm a humble servant. It would not be appropriate. That's already been made clear to me when I interceded on your behalf earlier tonight. Six Finger Lament. I shan't present myself to the general, but I would be. What do I want to say? I encourage you strongly to consider the reliquary. It would show me as well your courage and integrity, and I think it will place you in the most favorable position before the general. So I guess
turns to Six Finger Lament. He says, "The general is known to be a cruel man. It would be wise, I think, to do our best to curry his favor before we meet him with bad news."
So I think my interpretation of where we're at with the dice and everything is I've swallowing my suspicions. So maybe I'm not susceptible to being swayed, but I'm going to go along with it just to try to get more of a sense of what Harmonious Ivory is about.
All right. So well, maybe I won't. Yeah. Maybe I won't roll then.
Yeah, I don't know if on Josh you would need to do it or not. It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like he's just willing to go along, right?
Yeah, I'm giving in to my bond.
Yeah. So so I think I say, very well. Tell me more about this reliquary. Jade Serpent has it somewhere, you say?
So I relay again the information that I have, which is that it's a I mean, that's almost everything. It's a reliquary. It's in the archives that are near Jade Serpent's dungeons.
Okay.
So
I say, maybe I know a way there then, using that same move that got me into Tax Collector Chow's house. Maybe I know a secret way to get in there without being seen.
Before they go, I just want to make the most intense, like, bedroom eyes at Six Finger Lament, like, just really, like, hammer it home.
How does Bao-Yin respond to that? See, she's making eyes at me now.
Bao-Yin is going to set off immediately. He's going to say, "Let's go. We have no time to waste." To try and break your eye contact.
Yeah, and I seem especially cold now for some reason. I break away from you too. Say, let's go. I think we can go this way.
Speaking of Bao-Yin, Xin Ling, there appears to have, at least for some time, been a mob out to get after this person who you have fallen deeply in love with. What are you up to as the court has essentially disbanded? I mean, General Han Wen never got to make the great announcement he planned on, and things just devolved into anarchy after that guard stumbled through the door. What are you up to?
I think I want to go to Jade Serpent because I know she's involved closely with the general, and I want to get her on my side, essentially, to prove that he's unreliable and that the way that he's operating things obviously causes chaos in the court. And a quick jump on the gun, of the sword to someone's throat without collecting evidence causes even more chaos. So I'm going to essentially politely corner her, and
Sure.
and I'm going to just step into her vision and say, that's quite a ghastly entrance for one of your guards. I hope everything is okay.
Where do you think this scene takes place? Is this in the empty hall as people have cleared out and everything has come to a rushed halt, or?
I think it's one of the many great halls, like attached between two buildings kind of thing. It's like super wide, lit up, but open air almost. And it's like connecting the main palace area to like one of the side buildings, perhaps like the one closest to her dungeons, or because it's late at night. I'm assuming she's getting ready to retire after
Sure.
fixing this mess.
Yeah, if people, all of the halls are quite vacant. If you aren't part of a mob or a guard, you are probably asleep right now.
Right. And I'm just making my way through and found her by chances to make sure everything is okay.
It was. And to think that I let him go so easily, she says with a bit of regret.
I just sigh behind my fan and I say, I think there's been so much effort in strength that a little bit of tactics and stratagem just gets lost in these types of situations. It's really unfortunate that your handful of guards cannot tame one man.
He is a problem, but I do intend to deal with him personally when we finally do find him.
Well, I don't necessarily believe it is just that one man's fault. I think the weakness lies within the person who is easy on them to begin with. When you conquer something and you revel too long in your victory, you become weaker.
Are you trying to say something about my general, Xin Ling?
I'm just looking at the observations that I've already seen and what others have already said.
Xin Ling, I don't know how to tell you this any more clearly, but my loyalties lie with Wan Heng. I will not tolerate this insinuation that he is anything less than a fair and just ruler who will make this empire into far more than it could possibly have been under any other dynasty, under any other kind of ruler.
Well, I certainly believe that he is taking your extreme loyalty as a tool more than as somebody he can trust. I just see so much more worth to you, to the entire empire, more than just a sword, and more as a person.
Is that really what you think of me? Or is that simply another one of your soothing platitudes that politicians of your type, those without the actual field experience on the war, the battlefield, tell everybody?
Well, I definitely believe there is more than one type of battlefield, Jade Serpent. And if you cannot see that, I think the general may have failed you in that circumstance.
Really then, so tell me, if I were to remain loyal to the so-called rightful successor to the throne, what would be in it for me, Jade Serpent?
The the balance between martial and social, I believe, is the best for the people of this country and for continuing to keep the power that we hold on to. Do you see a soldier only train their arms and not their mind?
Your philosophies are idealistic, but not practical.
Well, with your help, I hope to make it so.
Tell me, if you are so set upon acquiring my loyalties, I am willing to consider the offer, but I do ask a favor of you.
And the favor will be?
Your grandfather, Stone of the Heavens. Deliver him to me.
And this would be the first time that somebody's ever like come up to my asking for my grandfather in general. I think this is going to be an inner conflict, just because my grandfather's the reason why I have all these ideologies, and I don't quite understand why Jade Serpent, who's so adamantly violent, would want him on a platter, essentially. Especially since I'm not aware of whatever my grandfather has done in the past.
What you gonna roll with?
I think I shall roll with... I guess Earth, just a flat 0, because it's more like the caution of trying to see, do I want to bring my grandfather to her? Is this really worth like my part of my family to her to get over on the general? So that's a +0. Huh. Ooh.
A 3. What element did you roll with? I believe it was
Earth.
Was it Earth? Go ahead
Yeah.
and mark Earth.
Yes.
And things have to get much worse now.
Yes. And
So I think that.
experience.
So start by telling me what you say in response to Jade Serpent.
I think what comes first is the uncertainty look that I have, like the uncertain look, like my grandfather. I'm not aware that you and he have any kind of connection. I'm not sure why this would be such a big trade for your loyalty.
We have more connection than you know, Xin Ling. Much more. So what do you say? Do not tarry, I have business to attend to. Provide your answer.
I suppose for the country, if you are going to protect the people in a way that is within the guidelines I provide, I suppose I can set up a meeting with my grandfather.
I don't want a meeting with him. I want him delivered into my hands.
So where do you wish him to delivered?
You have until dawn to deliver him to me in, shall we say, my private chambers.
I will make sure it happens.
Is that a pact?
It is a bond between you and I.
I have ways of holding you to your word. You should be careful about who you make pacts with, Xin Ling. And at that time, her face begins to morph and change. Xin Ling, tell me, what do demons look like?
I think it is a gnarled almost bark light dark purple skin, twisted in an almost comical but stony like feature, and they just give off a dark pulsing aura. So like almost like a theater mask, but obviously seething in darkness.
Very well. I think she drops the disguise briefly, and you realize that you have made a pact with a demon
Hey,
to deliver your grandfather into its clutches. You have until dawn.
okay.
I want to resolve the reliquary hunt of Six Finger Lament and Harmonious Ivory, but I suspect that's going to take a little bit longer than 12 minutes. Would we be okay taking the second break just a titch early and coming back at 28?
Could I,
Yep.
just before we do that, if it's all right,
Yeah.
can I roll to see if I was observing that conversation undetected?
Yep, and Xin Ling, do remember to mark a couple of XP for rolling and then failing the inner conflict roll. So yes, Harmonious Ivory, go ahead and roll that if you would be so kind.
All right. So, yeah, caution, focus, and presence seems like the go for this one. That's a 7. So on a 7 to 9, you hear everything but one of the involved parties sees you leave or finds evidence of your presence. It doesn't say whether I decide which of the parties or whether you do, David. I think it's clear which party I would prefer to know that I was there.
You know, I was saying I was going to guide them there. I was planning to deliver them to Jade Serpent, if that muddies the waters anymore.
Well, if you were going to do that anyway, it's just tricky because I'm trying to think of Harmonious Ivory. Did you get away from them? Did you like go ahead of everybody else and kind of sneak away? Or I'm just trying to figure out how you broke apart from the group. If Six Finger Lament, you were planning on going in that direction anyway. That's just the kind of thing that I was curious about.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I do think that it makes sense because you made that move, Harmonious Ivory, that you somehow cut ahead of Six Finger Lament and Bao-Yin, so you would be the only one, aside from Xin Ling, of course, who's privy to this information.
Yeah, so I think I like made my excuses to excuse myself from Six Finger Lament and Bao-Yin. You know, probably that I needed to go and check on my fiance and, pretended to head off in that direction, but then, rushed ahead, like certain that Jade Serpent was up to something, snuck my way back into the court. Maybe there are some secret passages that are used by the servants, not serpents. Serpent might be appropriate, to sort of sneak around and, ostensibly to serve, but often to observe and to spy on the court. And that's how I was in a position to see the conversation.
Got it. Okay, so that works. You make your excuse, you take off, and I think that it's only appropriate that, yeah, Jade Serpent's the one who notices you. So I think that there's a moment perhaps where, I mean, I'll let you describe it, but what I would like to have is a moment of kind of fleeting eye contact between the two of you. There's this moment of acknowledgement between you, kind of right as the demonic visage reveals itself, but I'll let you describe kind of how that plays out if you would like to do so.
Well, I think that I have some inner conflict because on the one hand, obviously my quest for vengeance against Stone of Heavens, like it seems like that would be well and truly satisfied by allowing him to be turned over to a demon. But on the other hand, I am in love with Xin Ling and don't want to see Xin Ling, falling into this pact with demons, which surely does not work out well. Like that's not a story with a happy ending. So can is it all right if I roll in a conflict?
Absolutely.
All right. I've already marked the element that seems most relevant, but I guess maybe water makes sense, awareness and wisdom and flexibility.
Sure.
So just a straight 2d6. Oh, that's a 5.
Okay, so unless you would like to spend both your bonds to bump that up to a 7.
it's just gonna. I mean, things are gonna get much worse if I don't bump them up. Is that right?
Correct.
Oh, I can't go past that. Please make things much worse.
Okay, we'll go ahead and mark, I think you said water.
Yes.
So mark water, and you get a couple of XP off of that. And I think that, well, first of all, go ahead and describe how that looks. Just the interaction that you saw and how you make that eye contact. And I think we'll see how things get much worse when we come back from the break. But I do want to close the scene out with that acknowledgement that you and the demon have noticed each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like it is just this moment of eye contact and this realization on the part of Harmonious Ivory that, maybe while I thought that I had snuck in, that maybe I have, fallen into what's really Jade Serpent's plan all along.
Brilliant. And I think on that note, we will go ahead and take break number 2. Let's come back at 33. Okay, we're back. Xin Ling, I wanted to do one quick retcon just to make things even a little bit worse for you. If you don't mind my saying, I think that as Jade Serpent, begins to kind of turn away, they will make mention that if you fail to fulfill this pact, if you go back on the deal, your brother Han is forfeit. So it's your grandfather or your brother, take your pick in the eyes of this demon. But let's cut real quick to Six Finger Lament and Bao-Yin, unless the scene there is going to be you entering the court to speak with Jade Serpent. Was that the plan, Six Finger Lament?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you tell me where you want us to be, or where I would jump in is me leading Bao-Yin through this darkened, palace of Jade Serpents, and be like, oh, we have to go through these doors, and ta-da! And I'll be like, here, Jade Serpent, I present to you Bao-Yin.
Got it.
I start my speech, and then Jade Serpent spins around and what? Because I didn't know that she's a demon, right?
Got it. Well, no, it didn't. So here's what I want to do. Let's go and do that. But before that, I want to do just a quick scene with Harmonious Ivory to resolve the hard move to make things much worse. So I think Harmonious Ivory, do you stay put, and watch as Jade Serpent leaves the area, and you want to go run to Xin Ling? Do you slink off without letting anybody know that you were there, or how do you play it from here?
Yeah, I think that I discreetly, I attempt to discreetly depart. Because the 7 to 9 result on my move to be there does say that I leave. So I left after I heard the conversation.
Absolutely. And I think as you do, you bump into a familiar figure who was kind of shadowing you, following you as you made your route through the streets of the Imperial City. What does Father Locust look like? I don't think we ever talked about that.
I like to think that he's a master of disguise, so it's not immediately obvious, but then, when he wants me to know it's him, I think that I've just bumped into this strange old man, but then he whips away his fake mustache and beard, throws his hood off, and I see the familiar figure. I think a handsome older man, like a bit of a silver fox quality, but quite small and nimble.
Got it. Harmonious Ivory, he says to you. Good evening.
Father Locust.
I come bearing news of import. In response to the recent attempt on tax collector Chow's life, I'm afraid we must move forward with the plan sooner than intended in order to solidify our position within the royal court.
How soon?
Well, I conferred with tax collector Chow already. Dawn as a matter of fact. You are to be wed.
I always hoped for an afternoon wedding. I also have news that I think it's important for you to know. Xin Ling has promised to deliver his grandfather to Jade Serpent, who seems to have plans for the Stone of the Heavens at least as severe as ours have been.
Well, I don't know what Jade Serpent's intentions for Stone of the Heavens are, but we cannot allow that to happen. We must be the ones to deal with him.
Surely what matters is that he suffers, not that it be by our hand. We are mere instruments of fate. It's the fate that's important.
It is hard to say what they will do with him, or what this, or if any suffering will happen. For all we know, they want nothing but good things for a Stone of the Heavens. It's impossible to say.
Well, would it change your mind if I told you that Jade Serpent is a demon herself?
Dramatic zoom in, everyone's facial expressions. Demonic.
I saw it myself.
Well, then we can take absolutely no risk. We cannot allow Stone of the Heavens to become corrupted by demonic forces from hell. The only old I hate to ask this of you, Harmonious Ivory, but I'm afraid the only option is to assassinate Stone of the Heavens before he can be delivered into the clutches of these demons.
Well, I think that I definitely need to roll in a conflict here. My loyalties and my loves. Because I'm concerned, like on the one hand, I want to assassinate Stone of the Heavens. I've basically spent like decades preparing for that. But on the other hand, I'm worried that Xin Ling will suffer the penalty under this demonic pact if he's not able to deliver.
Yup, that sounds like inner conflict.
Yeah. So let's see. Oops. Okay, so I want to roll Earth for this one, caution and focus and presence. It's a 7.
Very well.
A 7, what do I get? Oops, where are I at?
On a 7 to 9, you must either flee the scene or mark an element of your choice to keep yourself steady.
Oh yeah, I think that my emotions very melodramatically bubble over in this moment. And, previously Father Locust has just considered me the most stable, the most reliable, the most, calm and emotionless of his agents. But now he sees me burst into tears and run away.
I think he dramatically calls, "Harmonious Ivory! Harmonious Ivory!" after you, and the voice echoes as you take off, tears streaming quietly down your face into the dead of night. Do you bump back into Six Finger Lament and Bao-Yin as we enter their scene? Or do you just take off in a completely solitary direction?
Would that work for both of you? Do you want to encounter a teary Harmonious Ivory?
Very well. So I think that this is where we cut back to Bao-Yin and Six Finger Lament. Bao-Yin, I'll let you set this scene, because as far as I know, you're not privy to Six Finger Lament's alternative plans for you. How is this going for you so far?
Yeah, I think pretty well. I think that the city is distracted on this mob hunt, and they are not anywhere near the dungeons and where the reliquary is hidden. So we approach. The streets in this part of town are deserted enough, and Bao-Yin is not the authority, right? Bao-Yin right now is trusting of the plan, So I think that he would probably allow Six Finger Lament to approach, right? Because Six Finger Lament said, "Well, I'm going to take you to the dungeon," and that he is not aware that Six Finger Lament has untoward plans.
Yeah, and it's when you step back and think about it, it's peculiar that I don't seem to be that bothered. Like originally, Harmonious Ivory was going to take us to a reliquary, and she's disappeared, and I just keep leading you along into the palace. And maybe I say something like, so Bao-Yin, look, it's going to be a charged few moments when we meet with Jade Serpent and then the general, but just stay calm and have faith that I'll tell them that you were not party to this murder and that you're innocent. Okay? And maybe I'm going to try to comfort him if I can.
You can try the comfort or support move if Bao-Yin is receptive to that.
Okay.
All right. I'll use, I think I'm being calculating here. Oh, no, I already marked that one. Never mind. I guess I'm using wisdom maybe. So I'll roll with water.
Okay.
That's a 5.
Go ahead and mark water, and maybe describe how your words are a little bit, how should I put it? Maybe they raise Gentleman Bao-Yin's suspicions just a bit.
You want me to answer that or
Yes.
or Josh? Oh, I seem a little bit smug as I say it. My facial expressions don't match my words.
Yeah, and I think that Bao-Yin has been following because, this was the plan, but he starts to think, he realizes, well, actually, wait a minute, how would we get into the dungeon from here? Because we're, heading further away from the entrance, and Bao-Yin is not aware of any, like skylights or anything that we could crawl in through that you're taking me to. So he's getting quite suspicious, and I think that Bao-Yin is going to try to peel off while Six Finger Lament is sort of distracted in his, like, oh, I'm taking you to this place and I'm in charge and I'm cleverer than you. So Bao-Yin is going to try to sort of split away and find Harmonious Ivory.
And where might we find Harmonious Ivory? Are you tearfully wandering the midnight corridors of the palace, or are you outdoors, or how does that go?
I'm thinking about like what's the atmospheric place within the court that she goes when she needs to be alone or to have a moment. Or maybe this is where we came on our first date, Gentleman Bao-Yin. Maybe there's a nice pond or something like that. It catches the moonlight beautifully, reflects the stars. And yeah, I think Gentleman Bao-Yin is one of the few people who know that this is where Harmonious Ivory likes to come when things are troubling her. She's just sitting by the edge of the pond, staring into the water.
Yeah. Bao-Yin approaches quietly and he says, I thought you were taking us to the reliquary.
I thought I wish that I could have. I realized that it would have been untoward not to be with my husband in his moment in his pain and suffering. Sorry, my fiance.
Bao-Yin looks around. He does not see the tax collector, Chow, I presume.
No, he does not.
Yeah, Bao-Yin narrows his eyes. He says, I do not see your fiancé.
He has dismissed me. He did not desire my company. He insists that we marry at dawn.
Bao-Yin sighs. He says, if you find the reliquary, perhaps the marriage will be broken off. Your status will be raised. You will be greater than some tax collector.
It's true. Perhaps I could marry above my station. Looks off meaningfully into the distance. What happened to Six Finger Lament? Has he gone to seek the reliquary?
Bao-Yin glances back a little bit suspiciously. He says, Six Finger Lament was distracted.
He is distracted easily. Well, what do you think? Is it you and I again then to claim the reliquary?
It's that, or you spend the rest of your life with tax collector Chow.
You always know just the right thing to say. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I put my hand in yours and turn towards the archives.
Six Finger Lament. What are you up to at this point? I mean, Bao-Yin took off, or are you taking off after him, or are you pursuing some other goal at this point? Do you still wish to present yourself to Jade Serpent in an effort to, change their view of you, or what are you up to?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think the course of events have led me to choose to side with my clan at this point. So I think I would see that the jig is up with Bao-Yin when he runs off. So I think I will make my way to Jade Serpent then to try to inform that those two are, where they're at or what they're up to. To side with my clan. So I guess I make my way to wherever Jade Serpent would be.
Sure, that would be, at this time of night, that would be Jade Serpent's private chambers, her bed chambers, quite literally.
Right. I know I'm sort of like persona non grata right now, though, so maybe I sneak my way, a secret, hidden, the classic bookcase, pull the book out and swing the door open thing. So maybe I could make that roll to try to sneak my way in there.
That's reasonable if you think it would be interesting to fail.
Sure.
If that's the case, then yeah, you can either do your roll move. Alternatively,
Right.
I think that the just generic overcome move is appropriate here.
I'm sure they're probably about the same, but I'll do my roll move just to see how that works.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to use caution, focus, and presence, earth. So roll it +0. That's a 9.
Would you like to burn a bonds to up that to a 10?
Maybe. Let's see, what do I got? Harmonious Ivory. Xin. I think, yeah, my impassioned feelings all aroused up about Harmonious Ivory. I think I'm going to burn that to enhance my performance here. You do so quietly, impressively, and without fuss. So maybe I see them. Maybe I see her before she sees me.
Got it. So I think that at this point I finally have an opportunity to use the first of the two things get much worse that I have stockpiled against you. I think you make it to not Harmonious Ivory, to Jade Serpent's private chambers. Everything is bedecked in silk curtains, pillows laid across the room. There is a very well adorned place to sleep off on one side, tapestries, scrolls of all nature. It is this very elegant place. There are, I think, shields and war trophies collected kind of in a collection of curiosities off to one side. Jade Serpent does not appear to be immediately visible from the vantage point of whatever hidden passageway you're in. You would need to go into the room further in order to see what's going on there.
Yeah, I'll move in quietly, looking to and fro.
Absolutely. And I think that as you step in, there is this quiet throughout the entire room. There is maybe a kind of open window that leads out onto a balcony or something along those lines. But otherwise, it is very still, unusually still. Can't hear anything outside, not even the slightest whisper of wind. The only thing that you're able to hear is the sudden gasp, kind of a choking in your own throat, as you look down to realize that there, dramatically thrown across a collection of pillows, is Jade Serpent. Her throat has been cut. She is dead.
Oh.
And it is at that time that you hear a door shut behind you. Six Finger Lament. You turn. What does a demon look like in battle form?
Battle form. I think it's that darkness aura that I think Chase described. Now it's fire, blue, black flames, and it's about 8 feet tall.
Oh boy. You're face to face with a demon standing on the other side of the room. A great, essentially a broadsword with hellish runes inscribed down to the hilt, enwrapped in infernal sulfuric flame. This thing says to you, "Oh, I think you've come too late, Six Finger Lament. I am Jade Serpent now. And in only a matter of minutes, another one of my kind will be you, and your body will lie next to hers." And the demon advances. What do you do?
I think I jump out that window.
We're not going to try to duel?
Maybe yeah, you're probably right. Maybe that's what maybe that's what I eventually will be doing. I imagine this is above my scale, dramatically so. So yeah, I'll sling my guitar over my back and say, I've got my claws, and I do some kung fu moves and take a stance, call out my stance, 1,000 crickets in the dead of night, and start fighting.
Very well. So describe to me how 1,000 crickets in the dead of night looks as you are using it to essentially do hand-to-hand combat with this creature that has probably a 10-foot reach.
Right.
How are you able to close in the distance and to still try to put up a fight against it?
I think all I can do is to try to dodge and use the environment to my advantage. Like, it punches or swings at me and it smashes the wall, and the bookcase and the bed goes, is broken into pieces, and I'm rolling and spinning and jumping, and do we have like special like wire fu powers, or are we pretty like down to earth in terms of our kung fu?
That's up to each individual kind of table
sure.
or game group. I mean, because this is wuxia, I assume that you have at least some ability to do the running on water, jumping off of air kind of moves.
So yeah, there's probably a fair amount of that, and my only hope is that it's gonna like bring down the whole building on top of it, and somehow I'll survive. I don't actually attack it myself probably at all. Probably with the flames and whatnot, I probably can't even really attack it without hurting myself, right?
Well, Yeah, we can go with that. I think that sounds reasonable. I mean, it's not when you're hand to hand with it. So let's roll and see how that duel plays out.
Okay. Let's see.
So this is always going to be with your style element.
Right. That's a 13.
Ooh, very good. So you describe how you lose, but you don't have to mark an element. And I think
Right.
that gets you to 8 XP, so you can take an advance after this.
Sweet. So yeah, I think that we see a fairly lengthy scene of like me rolling and spinning and it completely destroying this room until finally it it brings down, like I said, like maybe like a column, and like half the ceiling collapses on top of it, and it's stunned for a moment, and I'm just like, this isn't going to happen. It's like I think or maybe I turn and I'm like, okay, well, that's a day's good work, and I'm like, okay, it's dead. But then it just bursts out of all of the stone, and it's still coming at me full strength, and I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work, and that's where I jump out the window.
And of course, as you leap out the window, the demon essentially disappears in a burst of flame. The door to the room is thrown open. And of course, someone sees you jumping out the window, and there is Jade Serpent dead on the floor.
Right.
You've got another body on your kill count, according to the Royal Guard.
All right.
So, I want to check in with Xin Ling. Last we checked in with you, you've made a pact with this demon, but we just kind of left you high and dry after that point. What are you up to at this point?
I think I want to, because it's already late, I can't really like go talk with my grandfather or anything like that. So I think what I'm gonna do is try and find Harmonious Ivory so we can pull together our information and see what we can do about the demon situation.
They've taken off for the archives. Is that where you find them, or how do you want to?
Oh, actually,
meet
I
up with
was
them?
wondering if I can use my shadow ability.
The body double one?
Yeah, it was what I want to do is that it was the body double who made the deal, not me. And I was actually doing other research in order to get over on the council and the general.
If this roll works, then the pact is actually void because it wasn't you making it.
Right. It was
How dare you?
my chateau. Let's see. And I will do that with my water or fire. I guess I would say fire because my creativity of using my body double in regards to talking to Jade Serpent, because I know she's a violent person and I didn't know if she was trying to kill me in the banquet regardless. And that's why I sent my bodyguard.
Very well. So you're rolling with which element did you say?
It would be I guess water makes more sense, like wisdom, awareness.
Flexibility, I think,
Yeah.
plays there.
All three check
Okay.
mark. They're both +2, but I'll use water. Water seems to fit better.
All right, I'll buy it.
But a 6.
Would you like to spend a bond to get that up to a hit?
Yes, I will spend the Harmonious Ivory one because that's the one that makes sense, because that's who I'm going to meet up with, and we've been kind of spying information all night.
Sure. So what it says on a 7 to 9, there are cracks in the performance. You must mark an element of your choice and pick one NPC who suspected something.
Yes, so the demon may have suspected that was not actually me.
Ooh, now that is interesting. All right. So which element would you like to pick to mark?
It would be the water element.
Okay, so go ahead and mark water, and we will say that this demon is at least in part onto you. Very good. So that means that you basically appear dramatically with Harmonious Ivory and Bao-Yin.
Yes,
Okay.
we somehow met up at the same time, even
Sure.
though Harmonious Ivory just saw me with Jade Serpent.
Sure. Bao-Yin, where is this meeting occurring? Is this kind of at the door to the archives, or is this kind of on the way? Or where do you think it would make the most sense to have this meeting occur between the three of you?
That is a good question. I think that the door to the archives makes sense. I think the archives are probably in a, nice part of the palace compound, close to the royal quarters. So I'd think that is where it happens.
Very well. And of course, the entryway to the archives is going to be heavily guarded. But you are perhaps near it, kind of just far enough away to do a nice Shakespearean aside if you needed to. So the guards are visible, but of course they don't notice you, and you are out of earshot of each other. And Xin Ling, I'll let you take it away in terms of how you appear.
I believe that Xingling is just gonna kind of tiredly wearing more not party clothing because it's late. But just going towards the archives, almost just walking to the guards, I'm going in here for my own information, not related to anything they would understand. So I'm just gonna waltz up to them and just bid them a good night. I would like to enter the room and do a bit of inventory of my own possessions.
Very well. And so I want to make sure I understood that correctly. Are you sort of doing this prior to meeting with them?
I
Or-
would say I'm trying to get the guards to leave me to have the room privately. So I'm telling them to
I
leave.
see.
I need
Okay.
a private alone with the room.
Absolutely. So I think that given your just kind of natural royalty, I think that is understandable. My inclination here is for you to roll hearts and minds on this, because I think it would be interesting if they had a reason why you couldn't enter.
Okay.
You of all people. So I would like to
Right.
go ahead and roll for that.
All right. I'm going to do it with fire just because I'm literally throwing myself at them with not much caution.
Sure.
Fire. I got an
Okay.
8.
And I think that it says that they may do what you wish or instead choose to, and then
Or-
other things here. I think for the sake of simplicity, we'll just say that they
Yeah, I just
do,
want them to go.
they do what you wish. Yeah, we won't complicate things any further than that. So right away. And they will kind of part, and they kind of open the door for you as if to usher you in. They don't seem to have any intention of leaving the area. Like they intend to stay watching over the door, unless is there some reason why they shouldn't?
I think Jingling would just be like, I would rather have a private time to go over my things, and honestly, the two of you standing out here is just going to make me nervous, and I'm sure that you need to rest as well. I can come get you when I'm done.
Very well. Right away. And they step off and will go to an adjoining room or maybe an outside corridor, and they'll watch over that instead of the room or the entryway itself.
And then I wave over Harmonious Ivory. And Bao-Yin. Wow,
All right.
I just flipped the words.
Yeah, Bao-Yin will take this opportunity. A little cautious, but he will step out of the shadows and he'll bow. He says thank you. Xin Ling, we need access to the archive.
Well, here's your access.
And he bows a little bit deeper, says, thank you. And he sort of tries to squeeze past.
I make it as awkward as possible. I'm not really moving that much. I'm just gonna let him brush against me, and I'm just gonna be like, savor the moment.
I'm like the last I saw of Xin Ling, or like I think that the last I saw of Xin Ling was making a pact with a demon. So I'm just gonna like be like, sir, are you all right? Like, is everything okay? Are you? I don't mean to overstep, but
Oh no, I'm doing better now.
yes, I've heard in the stories that often this sort of arrangement does make one feel better in the short term. Are you sure that you know what you're doing?
Xingling, looking a little bit confused, looks back at Bao-Yin and like, yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, if there's anything that you need from me, anything at all, then please just let me know. You know, I am at your service. I mean that in every sense. I think I'm
forever grateful to you, Harmonious Ivory. I trust you, not a doubt in my mind.
Like, I'm not sure if like, I think I'm going for like a comfort and support type move, but I'm not sure if the confusion where I think that the situation is totally other than what it is just like completely like, you know, skews that and makes it non-functional.
Well, I'm all for it, with the only problem being that I don't think that Xin Ling is distressed because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
He's thinking you're talking about something else completely. He's like, I'm good.
Well, then maybe what I want then is to study, like that it makes sense that I can tell that something is off here.
That works for me.
Okay, well, I think that I will roll with metal. Seems like an obvious one. Calculation and reflection. Let's see. 7.
All right, you get 1 hold plus your free study a question because of the move.
Yeah, I don't think that the free study question will apply because I'm not really looking for. Yeah, I don't think that anyone here is trying to cause trouble, so I'm just gonna let that go. But do you want to just continue the scene and I'll just think about how I want to spend my hold?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, I definitely think Xingling is trying to cause trouble before the general, not really for the group, but definitely for the general.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm looking for trouble though. Like, my move triggers when I'm looking for someone trying to cause trouble, whereas I'm more like just worried about someone who's not here causing trouble for you. Yeah, I guess then, sorry, just to spend my hold, my question is, and I already know the answer, but why isn't Xin Ling worried about having just made a pact with a demon? And maybe that just means that my character sort of realizes what's happened, that it must have been the body double. I just can sort of put that together.
There's like one mole behind the ear that wasn't there on actual Xingling, and wait, that wasn't Xingling.
So at this point, I think folks are getting pretty close to finding the reliquary. Bao-Yin, is there anything else that you would like to add or to mention or do here, or shall we go to the part where one of you finds it?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that we have delved into the archive and we find the reliquary.
Certainly. And so with that being said, I'm curious as to who finds it, and I have no way of deciding who that might be. Are there any volunteers, or shall we just choose at random?
I'm into randomizing it.
Okay, very well. I'm just going to roll a d3. Is that something I can do on this app? I might not be able to. We'll just do a d4 and re-roll 4s. So 1 is Harmonious Ivory, 2 is Xin Ling, 3 is Gentleman Bao-Yin. That's a 4, of course. There's a 3, Bao-Yin. You are going to be the one who comes across what essentially amounts to a small kind of almost ossuary. It is a just completely opaque black sort of onyx box with these very thin, almost marbled kind of stripes that are just sort of ingrained into it. And there's a small lid with a bit of a hinge on top. All the fittings are made of this very well polished, albeit dusty brass. And inside is who knows what. You might have to open it to find out, but you find what is undoubtedly the reliquary of note. So you have the floor here. What do you do?
Yeah, Bao-Yin picks it up off the pedestal. He's going to return to Harmonious Ivory with the reliquary. And he says, I found it. Time to speak to the general.
And I think that, like, sort of whispering, hoping that Xin Ling won't hear what we're saying, I'll say, and do you really think that if we give this to the general, that he'll raise me in the court so that my marriage could be to someone, you know, other than a mere tax collector?
Oh, I'm sure. A boon like this for the general? I'm sure.
Wow. And I think at this point I try and knock out Gentleman Bao-Yin. I feel terrible.
Fair enough. Do it.
Very good. Maybe I'm almost inclined to say let's make that the cliffhanger, because I do want to have time for stars and wishes here, and we've only got 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and I actually would like to end just 5 minutes early today if I can. So I think that's what we'll do. I mean, the final shot we'll see is going to be Harmonious Ivory. How do you make the first strike here?
Well, I think, sorry, I don't mean to derail after I said that, but I think I need to roll in a conflict, because I definitely feel it in the real world, much less in the game.
Sure.
But maybe that can be the cliff. I mean, if it works, that could be the cliffhanger, because the roll will decide whether I am going to strike out at Gentleman Bao-Yin or not. Or should I just roll it now?
I would say let's just go ahead and roll it now, so that if it is a fail, at least I have a week to think about how things get much worse.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess calculation makes sense. So metal. It's an 8.
You either mark an element or must leave the scene dramatically.
I will definitely be marking an element here. Caution. That's the one that I'm marking. There's no time for that anymore. And then I will try and slam the reliquary right up into Bao-Yin's face before he realizes what's happening.
Got it. So perhaps we very well may open the next session with a PC versus PC duel, perhaps, which is a super interesting mechanic if you haven't read that move. There's no dice rolling involved. It's just a bargain between players. It's very interesting. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up there. I will stop the recording and we will do a quick round of stars and wishes. See everybody next time.